This is part 2 of fallacies of argument. These are the ethical fallacies, and there are only a few ethical fallacies. The first one is called appeals to false authority. Writers offer themselves or other authorities a sufficient warrant for believing the claim. And I'm going to post a video on somebody who has done that, where she's discussing the state of education in terms of class sizes. And when somebody is asking her a question about, well, let me see the evidence you have, she is sitting there with a blank stare on her face and can't answer that question. She doesn't have any evidence. She's using her own word as sufficient argument that the claim is true. This fallacy is committed when the person in question is not a legitimate authority on the subject. More formally, for example, if person A is not qualified to make reliable claims on a particular subject, then the argument would be a fallacy. All right, so let's talk about dogmaticism. So this is the tendency to express strongly held opinions. Again, politics is an example of that. And so it's expressing strongly held opinions in a way that suggests they could be accepted without question. Well, I say this is what it is, so that's what it is. So example is, no rational person would disagree with. It's a fallacy of character because the tactic undermines the trust between those who make the arguments and those who listen to the arguments. It implies that no arguments are necessary. This is the truth, and the truth is self-evident, and that is dogmaticism. And then the third one is called ad hominem, which means to the man. It's a Latin term. It's basically attacking a person's character rather than the claims he or she is making. So example, the last presidential election, you heard at the presidential debates, or maybe you haven't, but during the presidential debates, you heard, hey, Hillary, where are those emails? And then you heard her say, hey, Donald, where are those tax returns? So instead of talking about the issues that the candidates were for or against, they were talking about each other's character, and that was their focus. That is ad hominem. And here's another example below. John claims the death penalty is a good thing, but John once set fire to a vacant warehouse. John is evil. Therefore, the death penalty is a bad thing. So that's an example of ad hominem. You're using the person's character to undermine the argument or to just totally ignore the arguments at hand.